draft is really in the nature. Can you hear me?
Yep, I just wanted to jump in and be sure that we're recording. And so I want to check
the countdown. Yeah.
Thank you.
To be sure that, there we go. We are recording.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you should have received the document, and this is in the nature of an executive summary because there's a lot of meat behind this, but we wanted to get the basic ideas out there to you. And the way this document is structured, we have 5 major recommendations, and what we're trying to get to is changes that can be implemented very quickly if a new police chief is hired, which he will be. What can the police chief do in 3 to 6 months? What are longer goals, cultural changes? So we have big pockets of items that we put everything into in order to come up with this document. And it's broken down into basic categories. We want the result of the overall community recommendations to be that the police presence is viewed as an increase in safety and conflict resolution in all neighborhoods, because there are some neighborhoods who do not perceive the police presence as really additive. They're really seeing them as taking away from their view of safety in their communities. And so we have various problems that we're trying to solve and recommendations based on those problems. Number 1, it says the present structure. You want to share this? I don't know. We don't necessarily have to share it, but Thea, you flipping it to share?
That is Mr. Buchanan's role. He has the special wand. So, okay.
Well, I can read it to each one of you while we're getting that.
Actually, Mr. Buchanan, can you make John Bunton the presenter, please?
John's good at this.
Yes, he is.
John knows how to do it. Okay.
I'm actually terrible at this, y'all, but I'm going to try.
We have confidence in you, John. This is a very streamlined document as well. I'm very thankful for the group that fine-tuned this document. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Eli. Thank you, Council Lady Gamble, for fine-tuning this document to this point. They worked very hard to get this document streamlined. And Dia, I know you contributed as well.
Okay, while John is sharing, the first problem we know that we noted was that the present structure of MMPD does not adequately respond to many vulnerable communities who may be reluctant to call the police and view their presence as an increase in the risk of conflict, nor does it adequately serve those experiencing mental illness. And we've heard from several different groups. They gave their, representing, the immigrant population, the trans population, the mental health cooperatives, and everyone telling us this same problem. And so in order to address that, we made recommendations of committing to a new culture of policing that builds on the guardian role. Now, the guardian role, as I understand it, there's a guardian role and there's a warrior role. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but we want to view the police as guardians of our communities, and they will partner with the vulnerable communities to address their concerns and increase safety while driving down crime rates. Because at the end of the day, if we do all of this and crime is still really at a high level, we haven't achieved the safety that the communities really, really require and really deserve, so to speak. And so we talk about required training for police officers on the concept of collective efficacy and really how this strategy can build sustainable community trust, because a big ticket item is community trust or lack thereof. We talk about this training will include training with partnerships in the community. Now, from that conversation with my pastors this morning, Reverend Jimmy Greer and Reverend Bruce Maxwell, they really brought up the point that the vulnerable communities are also going to have to come part way with the police, and make, you all correct me if I'm wrong, to make sure that they can step into that space and say, we're going to meet you halfway and build this collaborative agreement, as opposed to just the police making all the efforts. And I don't know if Pastor Maxwell agree, if you want to speak to that, because I thought it was a perfect way of looking at this in terms of it's just not a one-way street. We're going to have a collaboration between the community and the police.
I would like to speak to it real quick, Sister Sharon, and let everyone know I'm in total agreement as to where it's going to be a community effort as well as on the policing side, because we've got to get to the point as to where the police department is not looked at as the enemy. I think that, and as I expressed to you all this morning, one of the things that is concerning to me, and I think that Brother Greer pointed it out this morning also, the number of tickets that are issued within the African American community, and what winds up in the court are the Black and brown people, who are the majority of those receiving tickets for minor infractions, different things like that. That's got to be looked at, and that's got to be, it's something that we curtail some type of way, because some of those things are just set up in our communities as to where it causes a fear of the police department instead of a cooperative effort as to where they are there as our protectors also.
Thank you very much. And that is what is really the essence of the first recommendation. We go on to look at the crime indicators. We also go on into expanding police precincts and community policing. The second problem is traditional policing requires police to perform services better suited for other community resources. The recommendation is to develop partnerships with community-based organizations to support the delivery of social services that increase safety and conflict resolution. Within this, we have a broader category. We're going to discuss CIT in more detail, but it is one of those organizations that we need to expand the social services delivery model with. We talk about working with young adults, violence interrupter teams in the community. We also talk about developing and implementing a coordinated entity so that we have partnerships. Now, I understand there's been someone that's recently hired in the police force. I don't know if it's diversity, inclusion, or what it is, something to that effect. John, are you familiar with this person that's recently been hired, or a role that's been created?
Yeah, so I think Chief Drake has appointed a chief diversity officer, and I have not met that person. I don't know their background, but I believe he did announce that was something he was doing.
Yeah, I saw that, and they said one of the things that they want to do is expand on some of the programs that already exist, and they specifically mentioned the El Protector program, and so that was really a move already in the right direction, really dovetails very easily with what we've already put in the recommendation. So that is something that I think will be, that already started looking at, and hopefully that position can help support this sort of thing, even identifying these nonprofits that we will use to work with police officers and helping them set up meetings with the community. So it really follows what we're already saying we recommend that they do. Number 3, the problem is traditional policing has required police to serve as first responders to mental health and addiction crises, even though the police are not clinically trained to address these crises and refer others to appropriate services. We talked about establishing a crisis intervention team unit, CIT, and MNPD, and select officers interested in the unit and ensure that mental health professionals serve as co-responders and, when possible, lead the intervention. And this is really continuing the partnership and really expanding it. We should say continue and expand the partnership with Mobile Crisis and refer to the Crisis Crisis Treatment Center hosted by the Mental Health Cooperative. So we may need to work that and really do it because they do a little bit of this, but we want really a lot more because this is one area really which could be a very quick implementation strategy that could have significant enhancements to the way policing is done now in the community. I'm going to go through all these and we can go back for our discussions. Number 4, build the capacity across Metro to respond appropriately to behavioral health crisis and facilitate swift referral to behavioral health clinicians. The problem with this is that EMS transports individuals and how they go about doing this. And this is really a separate, distinct situation involving EMS, but it's somewhat like recommendation 3, because we want to have the capacity for Metro Fire and EMS to properly respond to individuals when they are called to the scene. The third problem, there is a strained relationship between the MNPD and youth from lower socioeconomic areas who are male and Black/brown. We want to recommend committing to positive police interactions for youth in all communities by adopting youth-specific policies and programs that address the special needs of at-risk youth. This is where we get into the SROs having a clear, consistent policies for their use of school resource officers, that is, and include the expansion, include the use of conflict resolution, restorative justice, counseling, and other forms of intervention, provide opportunities for police to interact with youth in the community in non-policing ways, example, police athletic or activities leagues, also provide specific juvenile justice trauma-informed training for all officers annually. So those are our big buckets. I know that's a lot I've gone through, but I want the committee to now have the opportunity to respond.
I know there is a strained budget because I'm dealing with it in General Sessions Court, but there is funding for a number of these things, both through the federal government, Department of Justice, and through the Community Foundation. We can look to fund a number of these initiatives here within Nashville and the budget we currently have. So we don't have to throw up our hands and say there's no money to do this. I know the police department, we're all going, okay, is this going to pass or is this not going to pass? I'm dealing with that, as I said, every day. But there's money right now available that has nothing to do with Metro budget. So we can do this. So put on a happy face.
And some of it may just be taking aspects of the budget as it exists and trying to reallocate and really I think over time you actually save money because you won't have the ramifications through the system of individuals that are better off, that served off better with better resources.
Well, as we found, or as they told us about the community policing, there's a 47% decrease in crime in that area when they began that process. So, okay, Tom, you're being quiet. Come on.
Sharon, I had a question about, this is David, I had a question about number 5, and just thinking about our, when we started wanting to be evidence-based and, having looked at evidence and data, and it's kind of a specific question about subsection B, where we say we want to provide opportunities for officers to interact with youth in the community in a non-policing way, including, as examples, police athletic or activities leagues. And I have a question just because we didn't really hear anything about police athletic leagues or activities. I know that the West Precinct, when they made their presentation, they talked about having donuts on the hood of the car and engaging in non-policing. So I think that's kind of overlaps and is consistent with the community engagement model that we have in number one. But sort of just following on what Judge Blackburn was just saying, I've had in the back of my mind wondering whether some of these community activities that are not specifically community engagement, how we track whether we're getting sufficient bang for the buck on those things. And because we didn't really hear about athletic leagues or those kinds of things, I guess my suggestion would be if we wanted to remove those as examples, because I'm hesitant to give an example of a very specific program that we really don't know based on, the work that we did, whether those are effective or not.
And frankly, I understand exactly what you're saying, that really came about from the best way of putting it, because I was putting this together, independent research that I did myself. And it's been shown that when young people and vulnerable populations, at-risk youth, have an interaction with police officers prior to an offense, they're much more likely to have a successful interaction when they do meet the police. It's that basic concept. And these are ways that police historically have done things. We did not hear from anyone specific in Nashville that says that this works, but it is shown that if you have a positive experience with a police officer prior to something going wrong, you're more likely to have a positive interaction with them once something does go wrong. But I welcome to hear from the group. Point well taken. So we did not actually hear that ourselves. That's based on, I've read a ton of materials and looked at a lot of things and trying to really figure out, because I knew that young people in the community have an issue because we see them in juvenile court. We did have the judge to speak to this. She did speak to once they get in the juvenile court, but we kind of lost a little bit of the battle once they're in, in Sheila Calloway's courtroom. And so this is one of the things that they talk about within, I guess, her area of expertise is how to prevent young people from getting into the juvenile justice system. But does anyone else have a comment on that, or want us to remove it, or we should not include it?
I don't know about removing it or including it, but I think we also spoke about interactions in the lower grades in the school system. Excuse me for coughing. So it kind of went beyond the police athletic league, but it was that interaction in the school system, because we found out that all the school resource officers are in their upper grades, and there's really no interaction kind of below that. So that was a component of that too. I don't know if you saw that anywhere in research, Sharon.
So really, it's really taking away those specific recommendations. So it's really like opportunities at early ages for them to interact.
Well, and I'm a native Nashvilleian, and prior to Mayor Purcell, there was a police athletic league here. And at that point, he disbanded it. And I'm sure some of the older native Nashvilleians remember that being in place. I don't know what the statistics were around that. I just remember that being in place.
And Judge Blackburn, you're of course exactly right. There was a police athletic league. It was disbanded in part because of some scandal and controversy around how the league was operating and supervision or lack of supervision. There is, at the moment, a lot of interest in bringing it back. That's something that the FOP really wants to do. And Acting Chief Drake has also, said that he thought those types of things would be useful. So a context, I guess, for all of you to be aware of would be that, it is something that's being discussed. There is evidence to suggest that, as many connections and activities and interactions as possible is good. It's hard to identify the effect of any of these specific types of interventions. There is a pretty robust body of literature, which Sharon sounds like you've spent some time in. But if you were to recommend that specifically, it probably provide some impetus to encourage the department to make time for officers to do those types of things. You could also be a little bit broader, of course.
Well, it's good to know that the officers are interested in doing it as well.
Yes.
Why do you think the officers want to do this? Do you know? I mean, it just said the officers enjoy, and they have both girls and boys doing it, and they just think it's a fun way. And, you know, there's activities, even, you know, some of the other activities the police officers do. I think in our conversation earlier today, we talked about a little boy who had played basketball just one time with the police officer. Later on had an interaction with that officer and saw it totally different. I mean, we got to have some way of bringing people to the table for these young people in the community to not just automatically have in their minds police officers as these, you know, bad people in their community. We come up with something. So I think it's very important for us to have this in there, but how is the best way of shaping that? I need to get some feedback.
What if you talked with Chief Drake?
Is that you, David?
Oh, I was just going to say that I like Tom's suggestion of using this 5B as an opportunity to expand this concept from SROs to younger children almost. And so, you know, provide for opportunities for police officers to interact with, you know, children and very young people in a non-policing way. I mean, that would be sufficient for me. I'm fine if the consensus is that we want to specifically point out athletic leagues as being important, but it does, I think, attach a certain significance to it coming from the commission. And so I wouldn't want the new chief or anyone reading this to think, you know, that is the best example that we can think of. It might be the best example. I just don't know as I sit here whether an athletic league or some other kind of interaction would be most effective.
I would just say that as my experience in the community, as far as the police athletic league is concerned, was always very positive. Interacted with many younger people, I say in the 30s, 20s, late 20s, 30s, who were impressed with police athletic league. Now, I've been around long enough. I came on the police department in '71, and that you know, I don't know that we can say it's the most effective, but I do know that it had a great impact on the youth. I remember so many younger people saying, Captain Botenhamer, who was actually head of that group, community relations at one time, actually coached a football team, and they coached basketball teams. And the feedback from those young people in the community was very positive. So I don't know if we want to just put it as the number one thing, but I certainly think it's something that the police department should look at.
David, what are you comfortable with? You were the one that had a question about that.
Well, now that I've heard from Pastor Greer, I think that, you know, I'm sold. If we have experience in our group that says that is a really good venue and we know it to be successful in our community, then, you know, I think I'm okay with holding that out as an example. We do put it as an example. It stood out to me, but it sounds like lots of reasons to believe that's a good target to identify.
Okay. Well, Sharon, proceed.
Okay. I don't want to necessarily hold people on the phone, but you have it. If you need more time to study the document, you can read it and get it to me. But this is an open forum. Is there something we have left out? Because, for instance, there was an earlier version of this that did not have the youth-specific part in it, and it was brought to my attention that we needed to add that. So there could be something that's not here or not covered or redundant or doesn't make sense that we could, because the document that goes behind this will flesh out more details that we talked about last week. So we need everyone to sort of read this, because, you know, it's kind of like if you don't speak now, you have to hold your peace later.
And what Sharon's saying about the document that goes behind it, what the document is, it just explains in greater detail what these principles are. It is these same principles, but it sets out in greater detail each of the details. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, Sharon.
I think I'd maybe like to have just a little time to digest it, and if I have anything, I'll send it to the chair, co-chair. Does that work?
Please.
Perfect. Thank you.
What's your timing on getting any comments back?
John, what's my timing? He's my puppet master. I'm just a puppet.
Thank goodness that is not true. Goodness, I'm so appreciative for all the work that you all have done. So we are trying to move quickly, of course. It would be wonderful, to have something by end of business day tomorrow. I don't know if would that give you enough time?
Just the way.
It does. It'll give me something to do other than watch the debate.
Fantastic. That sounds great. That'd be wonderful.
Thank you all again for all your hard work, your thoughts, your just everything that you've contributed to this process. We could not have done it without everyone's hard work.
Thanks to the chairs.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
John Button, too.
Okay.
And Dia.
Yes. John, yeah, absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
No, I mean, mainly a big thank you to you guys. I've learned so much from listening to all of you. It's been really wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
And the work continues.
Yes.
Okay.
Continues. Okay. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.